Okay, let's talk about the stereo inputs. There's two stereo inputs on this particular board. Once again, these channels can be used either as mono inputs, just like these mono inputs in here over here, in which case you have a balanced input on the back, on the bottom of each one of these channels, 48 volts again, input gain for that. However, this is where they kind of change a little bit. Here we can either select taking this input signal, such as, remember there's a 1/4 inch unbalanced inputs in the back, from an iPad or some signal source like a cassette player, CD player, whatnot, that's plugged into the back, and we can either differentiate between using the left one, the number 1 or number 2 by these depressible buttons here. This is the reason why you want to keep a pen near handy, because these buttons can only be depressed with either a pencil, a paper clip, or preferably with a pen, and I'll demonstrate that in a second. And here we have the pen. It fits nicely down there, so we can actually press it in or take it out. And that will take us between either sending the signal to left and right, LR, or as channel 15. Since this is actually channel 15 on this board for the mono input. So you can actually, if you got if you're using the microphone input, you can use this gain input. This particular gain input will not work with a microphone. However, by the same token, the two unbalanced inputs, which are typically serving left and right input into a stereo channel, this input gain will not differentiate or have any bearing on those, but this particular input gain will. Once again, feel free to take the owner's manual and get a little deeper explanation of these particular buttons that we're talking about here. So at any rate, we have two series of stereo inputs we can use, and those are differentiated right here by these two input gains. That's how you set their gain with the PFL button, and I'll demonstrate that on one of these other channels. Using the PFL button in mute mode, we can actually set our gain structure for whatever our signal input is. Now, we have our input gains for the two sets of stereo, double mono, which is actually stereo, inputs on the back. So we have two of them that we can select from. So let's say we have two pieces of equipment in there, one being a CD player and the other one being somebody's iPad or smartphone or whatever. Let's say there's a CD player and this is a smartphone. We can actually get a level set for the CD player. And then we're done with the CD player. Let's go over to the iPad or a smartphone or whatever you got plugged in, and go ahead and bring that gain structure up a little bit. Once again, always using the AFL button with the headphones, so you can actually set your correct input gain for that particular signal. Alright, and then going down, once again, the EQ section on these are different because these are shelvable EQs, unlike where you have, the top one is 12.5 kilohertz, bottom one is 80 hertz, but the ones in the which are the same as the mono, these are the same. However, we do not have a sweepable mids. Over here they're just shelvable, so that's why that's going to be typical on a stereo input channel, that you're going to just have standard shelvable type, veritable shelvable type EQs on those channels. That way you can add a little meat to the sound if you need to, such as this one has a little more meat in certain frequency ranges, as opposed to this one. When they're up 12 noon like that, it's the same thing as having the EQ out. Okay, and once again, make these changes with the headphones on, so you can actually hear what you're doing via the AFL button on that particular channel. Okay. Once again, our 6 auxiliary sends. That way we can send a piece of the signal going to either auxiliary 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You'll use these a lot because quite often you'll play like a piece of music that, say you have somebody who's going to be singing, and they're going to be singing to a canned track, such as a piece of music that doesn't have the vocals in there, or might even have the vocals in there for that matter. You'll send that either to a monitor, one of the monitors that are hooked up to one of the auxiliaries, and more about the auxiliaries here in a minute, in which case you would have them being able to sing to the music in a floor monitor or above head monitor. There are several different options in this regard as we go through further on this series of videos. And then once again at the bottom, you can select either pre or post on auxiliaries 3 and 4, 5 and 6. And then once again, you can either change the balance to left and right, or both left and right, or 1 and 2, or 3 and 4, by the all in respect to how you have the channels assigned. And of course PFL and mute. No sound from that input will happen as long as we have the mute button depressed. And of course we have the mute button depressed because that's when we want to actually make our changes to the sound so we can hear them only in the headphones and not have other people listening to what we're doing back here. However, in a live scenario, you may have the music going and a vocal going, and you'll just listen in on the music or the vocal through the PFL and make some adjustments on the run that way as well. And of course, assignment buttons are the same, as well as a 4-segment LED VU meter, which is LED type. And then of course the main fader for that particular channel.